that's important because at the end of the day, like young men and even men today, like myself, we don't get enough practice at being vulnerable and showing our emotions.
Yeah.
That's not something you work on.
Yep.
Those games are rocking, right? They don't hold the 70,000 like the University of Washington does, but they pack them in, and they're rowdy, right? I think Oregon and Washington are special games. I think Nebraska, there's no place like Nebraska.
Yeah.
I'll never forget our quarterback took a hit at Nebraska, and that stadium in Nebraska went wild. I was like, oh my God.
So talk to me then, like, moving forward, like legacy-wise.
Yeah.
You know, is coaching what you want to be doing forever? We're going to talk about some of the other ventures you got going on, but welcome to the Confidence Quotient podcast. I'm your host, Michael Carrillo, co-host Zane Kaufman.
What's that?
We got a big time. I can't even say the word big time enough. Just to let y'all know how big of a guest we got in the studio today. Deontae Cooper.
Too kind, right?
Oh, bro, I'm loving that.
Too kind, man. You're gonna
Big
make me
time.
blush over here.
Big time, dude. Former top 20 running back in the country coming out of high school. Team captain at a big-time Power 5 program. Then transferred to the San Jose State University, Spartan up, where you and I were teammates for a year.
Yes.
And now doing huge things in high school football, tech, and real estate. So listen, man, super excited to jump into this with all of you, man. And Coop, you know, we haven't seen each other in a few years, man.
We haven't, man. And you know, I love the dude, man. I love the hair.
Yeah.
I love the swag right now.
Yeah.
Man, just, you know, it's funny. I'm blessed that I got to meet you in that short window at San Jose State, right?
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about playing sports is you come in contact with people that are lifelong friends, right? And so you're that guy for me, man. You're gonna be a guy that is a lifelong friend for sure. So
absolutely.
Yeah, man.
No, I listen, man. I agree. I think when you meet somebody and you know, like, hey, this dude got a little bit of juice to him, you always want to surround yourself with people like that, right?
Absolutely.
Obviously, like, it's been some years since we've seen each other. We've both kind of had similar, in a lot of ways, kind of tracks. Same thing with Zane. You guys have also had some similar tracks in what you guys are doing now. So really want to dive into all that. But first question I got for you, man. You know, obviously coming out of high school, moving into a big time program, what was the craziest college experience? Maybe the craziest college place that you played at? I know Washington gets a little crazy. What's one of the biggest, like, that you think about sometimes to this day? You got flashbacks of, you know, this was one of the craziest experiences that I had.
You know, you can never forget or not talk about the rivalry weeks, right? I think, you know, playing at Wazoo at the end of the season when that game has some meaning to it, those games are rocking, right? They don't hold the 70,000 like the University of Washington does, but they pack them in, and they're rowdy, right? And they care about that rivalry. I think the rivalry with Oregon, right, when we go down there, that stadium packs out too, right? And so when we think about just, you know, conference play, I think Oregon and Washington are special games. But then when you step outside of conference and you start to go on the other side of the, you know, the map, I think Nebraska, there's no place like Nebraska.
Yeah.
I'll never forget our quarterback took a hit at Nebraska, and that stadium in Nebraska went wild. I was like, oh, my God. You couldn't even hear the guys next to you talking. It was loud. And so LSU's another crazy environment. But, again, those rivalries across the world are special.
Yeah.
And especially at University of Washington with Washington State and University of Washington, Oregon, and then University of Washington.
I think, you know, for a lot of people that are going to be watching this, they've never gotten a chance to take a snap at a big time, like, environment like that. Is there any ever, like, fear back there? You getting ready, you get in the zone to the right, and you're looking over there, you've been watching film all week, you know exactly what's about to happen, you know you're going to be one-on-one with the outside linebacker. it's maybe a 3rd and 3. There's things going on. Like, are you thinking about all that, or what was that? Like, walk me through your mindset whenever that kind of stuff was going on.
There's only had fear 2 times in my career in terms of college, right? The very first carry I took in practice, because I graduated high school early.
Yeah.
At the University of Washington, I was playing with all these guys who've been there for years. Like, my very first carry, I'm like, okay, what is this going to be like? So I was like, a little nervous.
Yeah.
And then, obviously you take that first hit, then you're like, okay, that was it. And then 3 significant ACLs year after year after year. That first carry coming back was terrifying. Like, dang, okay, coming back after 3 ACLs. I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
The game has changed completely from when I got recruited and I came in, right? 3 years later, it's an entirely different game.
Yeah.
Speed is entirely different. So that was a terrifying experience too, right? So just, being vulnerable in that sense, those are the 2 examples that come to mind right away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're talking about confidence, obviously.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you come out of high school, you're the dude. Like, not only are you the dude in your area, but you're the dude in California.
Yep.
You're the dude across the country, right? And then you go to a place where everybody's the dude. And then, like you're mentioning, you go through some significant injuries.
Yeah.
Like, when you first step on campus, I'm sure, like, there's nervousness, but confidence is at an all-time high. Like,
Absolutely.
you've got that inner confidence in yourself. Does that waver? Does that shake after 3? Like, for a lot of people, could be like career-ending injuries.
So
most people, not a lot of people, most people.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I had those injuries, I was doing a whole lot of research. I was trying to find someone who went through something similar. I found Frank Gore. I kid you not, I was reaching out, ghost reaching out. Like, hey, Frank Gore, this is Deontae Cooper at so-and-so school. I'm trying to, just get some feedback and ask some questions. But to be honest, I worked so hard in high school leading up to college. I told myself I can never get hurt because I worked too hard. I was definitely confident in everything I did just because I worked harder than everybody that I competed with. So, a lot of times it's a culture shock when guys come to high school, leave high school and go to college, because there's a lot of guys like you. It wasn't necessarily a culture shock for me because I had success early and I was able to refer back to, okay, I'm having this success because I work the way I work. And I used to joke with some of my teammates, me getting hurt leveled the playing field for you guys. So that's just some of the confident jabs I took at some of my teammates.
So that wasn't like, man, we've all been there where it's like we're just saying stuff sometimes to maybe get ourselves going. That was a legitimate, bro, even after 3 ACLs, you're still like I'm still him.
I'm that dude.
I'm still that guy. If I could go back, there would definitely be some things I would have tweaked, right? I think when I got hurt the first year, I didn't do a good job of understanding, just diving into the nuts and bolts of rehab, right, and involving with the body and the time, right? I think growing up, it was hammer weights, and now you're starting to see, single leg movements, right?
Mobility.
Low reps, mobility, explosive movements, the yogas, right? Yeah. All that stuff, the mobility. We was talking about before we came here, the Peloton rides, getting on the bike, all these different things that I didn't incorporate back in that time. Man, if I would have tweaked a little bit here and there, I think my body would have thanked me later for it.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say that's something that I think about, because obviously I never played at the level that you played at, but I think about back in high school, the same thing that you're saying, pounding weights, how much can you lift? You need to lift more and more and more. And I think back to that and think, man, I never did recovery like I should. You know what I mean? Like when I got to college, it was mandatory ice baths and seeing the trainer and stretching and stuff that that part was more uncomfortable than actually playing football.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I didn't do any of that, in high school. And so.
Yeah. I mean, recovery, I've always thought this. And I would never tell, when I was in school, I would never tell anybody this because I didn't want them to maybe get onto what I was getting onto. But I always thought that the people that did the best and had the longest and, just the most success over time took the mobility and the recovery stuff more seriously than the training and everything else. And I'm sure you were the same way, even with the injuries, because when you start going through rehab and stuff, you start learning things, they start putting you through all these different exercises. I tore my PCL and my meniscus, but you start learning all these different things about how your body ties together, how a rolled ankle can start making you tweak how you walk, which then overcompensates in your knee, which then affects your hip, which then as a quarterback affects your shoulder. You know, there's a lot of ways that things are tied together. So I remember when I was in school, like, so the year that you came, I was my redshirt year.
Yeah.
And I still trained like every day, like I was going to be the guy, but I took recovery so seriously because I knew like that was the thing that keeps people playing longer. Like I just watched this Netflix show, Quarterback, and they they do a lot of they show a lot of like behind the scenes what's going on with recovery. And I think for the average person that doesn't have insight to that, or maybe didn't get to play at that level, that's like 90% of the job is just feeling good.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you think about the top athletes across the world, right? Like LeBron James. I think that there was some wild number out there of how much money he spends on his body.
Right.
Yeah.
$1 million a year at least, right?
And you just think about that, right? Like, look at the longevity of his career. Like, everybody's wondering, like, can he do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he spends a lot of money taking care of himself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, you know, recovery, again, wasn't stressed enough when we were playing. I think that it's starting to be stressed now.
Yeah.
But, again,
you know, when we were playing, it was almost like, I mean, yeah, you're going to roll out and stretch after, but you almost got kind of looked at like being soft, right?
Yeah.
Like, bro, go hit some more weights, right?
Yeah.
You know, like you got your weight staff, all these like militant dudes, you know, that are trying to get you going crazy, but it's really the recovery. The other thing I was going to ask you too, man, going through 3 significant injuries like that, I mean, it took you off the field a lot. To still get voted as a team captain at a big time Power 5 program, you know, from a statistical standpoint, the numbers don't reflect the talent. Walk me through, like, how are you able to still maintain that level of leadership, that level of, you know, there's a lot of people, man, you go through 3 injuries like that, it's a woe is me, like, forget everybody else, like, y'all go figure it out, man, I'm gonna go do rehab over here. Yeah. Like, where does that come from, where it's like, no, I'm going through this, but I'm still going to be the leader on this team?
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, anybody that's played with me and been around me, they know that I'm authentic, right? Yeah. And so making plays or not making plays, Coop doesn't change, right? Every time I show up, I'm showing up as myself, the best version. I'm competing.
Where's that come from?
That's just my makeup. That's just in the DNA, right? That's just in the Cooper blood. It's just highly competitive, you know, charismatic, outgoing, people person. And so when you put that in the locker room, like, I genuinely care about my teammates, right? Yeah. And so, you know, genuinely care about their success. Obviously, I'm a competitor, but again, I couldn't play, so it's how do I help the guys in my room? And I made this funny story. A buddy of mine, Jesse Collier, we went 1-2 in California. I think he had like 3,000 and something yards, and I had 3 something, and we both go to the University of Washington.
Wow.
And that was very competitive because obviously he wants to start and I want to start. And I tore my ACL. And then, you know, obviously that competition then wavers away. The year after, he tears his ACL. So then it's like, man, now I get to play a different role for him. I get to be a guy who's, hey, I've been through this. Let me mentor you and show you the way.
Y'all were supporting each other through that.
Supporting each other through the entire thing, right? And so when you talk about how do you keep that leadership, man, it's just when guys are down, finding ways to pick them up. Like, hey, you all right. It's not as bad as you think this is. And so being consistent with that, making sure guys around you know, like, hey, Coop really is who he say he is. Yeah. And so just being genuine, just being charismatic, being a people person, loving guys up. And then, you know, outside the locker room, man, are you that same dude? So, man, when we hung out on campus, it was good vibes, man.
Yeah.
So, again, like I said, man, that's what I love about college. I got a lot of good friends. Yeah. And, you know, they all doing different things, but
but you stay in touch. You know, I think that's really important, that what you said there, because a lot of people, and we all know dudes like this, you know, they have a bad game or they don't do it, and they're nowhere to be found. They in the showers, they're out before everybody else. But let them have a good game. They're in the locker room, rah, everybody up, and they're different people. Yep. And I think a lot of times that, and I know as athletes, you know, just people, business, all that kind of stuff, people that are competitive, people that are dreamers, a lot of times we can tie our identity to whatever endeavor we're in at the moment. And so when things are going good, when we're successful, when we're on the field, it's so easy to be the guy that, you know, everybody's like, oh, he's a good leader. But as soon as something goes wrong, okay, where do you stand in that moment?
Yep.
You know, I know that you had some things go on, and you ended up leaving the University of Washington and coming to San Jose State. Obviously, that's where we met. Talk me through that journey.
Yeah, man. I think, you know, it's so funny. It's like, man, how do I start? Coaching change happened. Steve Sarkisian leaves. Coach Chris Peterson comes in, who's a great coach.
Yeah.
And respect them both so much.
Yeah.
I lost my pops that junior year going into the spring, and just wasn't the same, right? You talk about just the Coop that I just described to you was gone because he was just, you know, he was trying to isolate himself and basically mourn the loss of his father, and just I was in a tough place and just was letting some negative energy seep in, and so. You know, when you combine that with trying to get back home and just isolating yourself and not being the guy that came to University of Washington, it's easy to play the woe was me and I need to get out of here and get back home. And you got people saying, come back home, find a school back here. You'll get 30 carries. You'll do this, you'll do that. And so ultimately, if I could go back and do that again, I would have stayed just because, again, I left a great situation, team captain. I played every game.
Yeah.
You know, and losing my pops, who was a strong voice in my ear. I'm talking a guy who, when I was little, would come to every Little League practice, have the long chair ready to go 30 minutes before practice, wouldn't miss a game. He'd be out there about a time stretch. I'm like, Dad, why you get here so early? I want to see everything. And so when you lose somebody like that, that's supportive, man, it hurts. You know, you don't have somebody to turn to. And I was turning and I was listening to the wrong people. And I was vulnerable, and God let some toxic words taint me, and I got me out of there, and I wanted to get back home, and San Jose was a great option, to be honest. Yeah. So yeah.
So if you know, and we've talked about this, you know, off camera before too. I know obviously how hard of a time that was for you.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough, man, and I don't think I truly got over that until I met a trainer in Sacramento named Lim Adams down at Game Fit. He found me at a broken time, and I love him to death now, and I'll do anything for him because when he found me, I was in shambles from confidence, ego was all over the place, pride, and he broke me down. It's like, cool, like we gonna get you right. And when I got done with him, I had my confidence back. I was feeling myself. I was mentally stronger. I was good.
So you know, I feel like that's like that Rocky like cut track, right, where he's out. You know, he's hitting the logs. He's doing the pull-ups on the cabin.
Yeah.
For you, what is like the behind the scenes of you actually going and getting your confidence back?
When I got done with San Jose, man, and actually it was the summer of when I was figuring out, okay, where I'm going to go after University of Washington when I transferred. I went back down to California, trained at Game Fit in Sacramento, and started working with him. And then, you know, got a quick little sample size. And then after the season, went back to him. And I think that was when we had a lot of time to slow cook just my confidence. And I think when I stepped into training camp with Oakland, I was a confident guy.
Yeah.
I was confident.
So, you know, obviously being around the right people is huge. What were some of the things that he was speaking in you that started to bring that back?
You know, it wasn't the things he was speaking, it was the things that he was showing me. Right? Like it was the things that how I saw him interact with other people he was training, how I saw him interact with people in his business, right? Unwavering confidence, right? A dying spirit to support everyone around him. I'm like, dang, that used to be me, right? Just a ball of energy. Would call me at like 4 a.m. Coop, you up? I'm faking. When I answer the call, like, yeah, I'm up. Knowing
I've been
not
up. Yeah,
I've been up. Knowing I'm not up. And so, man, just a good dude. And then not only that, though, the relationship was special because my brother, I got a twin, who went through a draft process before me. And so when you get a trainer, you train for combines. and all that stuff. You guys know that stuff can be expensive, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with the whole recovery and
yeah.
the meal prep. He did all that stuff for free for my brother.
Wow.
It was all for free. So he took care of my brother's meal prep. He took care of my brother's recovery. He took care of my brother's training. He did all of it for free.
Wow.
And, you know, family is family. Like when you take care of a twin, someone who's really close to me, and I see it from, you know, I see it from afar. And then also, not only that, I seen the transformation of my brother. I'm like, I'm sold. And people were telling me like, hey, you don't want to train there. They don't have the bells and whistles that you need. And I'm like, what are the bells and whistles that I need? I said, I'm going there. And so my agent, look at this. My agent pays for me to go there. And so like the fees and the stuff that he had washed away. So an investment he made in my brother a year later comes right back to him, doubled that, because my agent invested in the entire training package.
Wow.
So, and you know what? He's family to this day. And so that's a guy that really resurrected me in terms of like confidence and you know, getting my mental back, and grateful for him forever.
I like what you said there about regaining that confidence is about being selfless. I think so often, like when we go through things and it's so easy to be, woe is me, look at how tough my life is.
Kind of play the victim almost.
Play the victim. The thing that gets you out of that and gets you back on track is, how can I help this dude?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, let me look at this dude. Like, let me hear about this dude's dreams, right? Like, I'm sure as you're, you know, when I went through my pro day process, same thing for you, I'm sure. Like, you see other guys that are training there.
Yep.
It's such a cool experience because you get to train with dudes that you maybe have played against, or, you know, you got to see them play across the country. And you like, it's a brotherhood too at that point.
Brotherhood. I got one of my closest friends now is someone that I did my pre-trap training with, and he went to Idaho State. We call him J40, and he is one of my guys. And so you're right, man. You form a brotherhood in that training, and it's special.
Yeah, because then you see your boy gets picked up.
Yep.
You know, it's just there's something about chasing after something with people that are like-minded that you really have no other similarities outside of you guys want the same dream.
Yeah.
And you're rooting for him like a brother, or you're rooting for him. You want it just as bad for him as you do for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a really powerful shift in perspective to, you know, it's so easy to just look at all this hard stuff I had to go through.
Yeah.
You do it with somebody else, you're rooting for them, you're seeing the things that they're overcoming, that's inspiring you, that's giving you confidence. And it's a cycle. Like you guys are just feeding off of each other.
Feeding. And it's so funny, man. That's what it's about, right? And I think now being older, like you see it even more clear now, right? And that's like a message that I give anybody that I'm around. Is like, man, the moment the guys around you perform, the better you'll become, right? And the better that you'll be able to step into an environment where you can further succeed because guys around you are successful.
Yeah.
And not only that, they're gonna fight harder and work harder to make sure you're successful.
Yes.
So again, man, it's like you putting good into the universe, and it's gonna come right back to you.
Me and Zane talk about this all the time. You know, we've all seen videos of they'll find 5 people hanging out, and they'll be like, "How much money did you make? How much?" They'll ask 4 people. You know, you're the average of the 5 people that you hang around. Yeah. Usually, that 5th dude, he's making around the same amount of money that everybody else is. Or, you know, if you're hanging around with a group of people that are confident, there's no way you're not going to be confident.
Not at all. You can't. Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
There's no way that I'm going to be a confident guy hanging out with people that's
undecisive.
Yeah, nah. Like I was joking, and this morning, this morning, someone was trying to put their suitcase up in the luggage space in the top, and he was. I'm like, hey, boss man, right here. And he put it right there. I'm like, man, this is indecisiveness. So I'm just kind of going back to your point, right? Like that's just in my DNA. Like, hey, that doesn't work. Let's go here.
Right.
And some people don't have that instinct or that decisiveness to be like, all right, I'm gonna make a decision.
Right. Right.
So,
or other people might have just sat there and let him struggle for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Let the line on the plane get long, and you know, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
You're taking action, right?
Take action.
So,
Rise for action.
Come on now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, speaking of action, bro, I mean, you've been a part of a lot of locker rooms. You've seen a lot of culture. You're a part of a locker room now, and we'll get to that. But just on the general trends of locker rooms of winning teams versus locker rooms of losing teams. What's the difference, bro?
Dang, you set this one up. Well, I'll put it like this, man. So and I'll use these two examples because you'll understand, and Zane, you'll be able to relate to this too. So I'll compare University of Washington and San Jose State, right? University of Washington, when we was there, I'll say that the culture there between, even with Sark and Peterson, Sark, there was a strong culture for being the best football player you can be, right? And prioritizing that. Hey, you shouldn't be here if you don't want to go and play in NFL. That's the type of guys he's recruiting. Coach Chris Peterson is different. OKG, built for life. But these are our core covenants to making you a great football player. Everything you do off the field is going to be a reflection of how you perform on the field. So how you do anything is how you do everything. And you see success in both of that. When I got to San Jose for that last semester, I don't know what a covenant was. I don't even know. I still don't know to this day, like, what the culture was. And that's not a knock to anybody. There's some coaches that understand that there needs to be a culture behind a team. And there's some coaches that just don't know that. And that's okay, right? But those are just two examples of here's a place where there was strong culture, and here's another place that didn't have a strong culture. And the crazy thing is that San Jose State team that we played on was loaded with talent. Yeah. I think the entire offensive line was back. Yeah. We had a senior quarterback. Yeah. We had 2 veteran receivers on the perimeter.
Great receivers.
You had, former 4-star. You had all this in the backfield. Yeah. The defense, man, we had a defensive end who went to play in the league. Yep. You had a linebacker that went to play in the league. You had 2 corners on the perimeter that went to play in the league. You had a safety. Yeah. And not to mention, let's talk about just, the staff. You had a corner coach who's now at USC. Yeah. You got another DB coach who's at Los Angeles Rams. Mm-hmm. And
OC that coached everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. So there was just no culture to really lead that team. And so just 2 great examples of it, man, where Steve Sarkisian took a team that didn't win any games in 2008, and then in 2009 winning 5, and then 2010 going to a bowl game, right? And then Chris Peterson doing the special things that he did with taking that University of Washington team and taking them to that Final Four, right? Yeah. Where they play Bama. And then San Jose State, man, they're coming off that Cure Bowl, and then finish worst the year after, which is crazy. But
I obviously got to be a part of that locker room that you're talking about at San Jose State. Great dudes. Yeah, great dudes. Great dudes. Everybody got well with each other off the field. And then after that year that you were there, that coaching staff was replaced by a new one. And I agree with that. I think the culture, and by the way, since that coaching staff had been replaced and there's a new staff, they won the Mountain West, I think, 3 or 4 years later. And unfortunately, I was there during the rebuilding years. But I did get to see what the difference in culture is. And I think what you're talking about is when you were at the University of Washington, even under 2 different coaches, there was a defined core culture. There were like you're talking about covenants, principles. That's something that I experienced with that second coaching staff at San Jose State with Coach Brennan. Is there was something that was defined. Everyone says, "Oh, you got to be bought in. You got to be all in." To what? Yeah. To what? Right. You got to define what that is as a leader. Right. There's a verse that in the Bible, man, with no vision, the people perish. If there's no path, we all just in the dark. Yeah, we got to play harder. We got to play for each. What does that mean?
You referenced a good book. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to define it, right? Yes. Now, you and Zane have something in common where you guys both are coaching high school football right now, and I want to hear about. And man, I wish when I was in high school I had a coach like you. Someone that got to live it out. Talk me through. And Zane brought this up to me kind of before we got on, but talk about changing a culture. Yeah, being the definition of change.
I looked at the high school that you coach at. Yeah, and I looked, back as far as records would take me.
Yeah.
I think it was like maybe like 2003 was as far as it took me back.
Yeah.
And man, they didn't have a winning season. They didn't go above 500 or even hit 500 one time in those
like 20 years, right?
20 years. It's just about 20 years now. I think that's the best thing that you've probably done in my eyes, because now you're molding young men, which at times can be challenging, bro.
100%.
Yeah.
100%, man. And really kind of touch on both of that, Mike. I think, some of them would say they're not lucky to have Coach Cooper.
Right? But that's a good thing too.
Right. But Zane, to go back to what you're saying though, man, I inner city, right? I'm passionate. We talk about developing, passionate about helping, minorities, especially the ones that are unfortunate, and just a product of their environment, can't really control, the hand that they're dealt. And so just trying to be a consistent face.
Yeah.
That was my biggest plan. I'm like, all right, before I even did the interview, I walked around the campus. I'm like, let me see what the school look like. Let me see what's in the building. Seen a bunch of polys. I seen Hispanics. I seen athletes all over the place. I said, man, this is a diverse bunch of kids. But I also seen it also made sense, right? Why they've been struggling academically for years, athletically for years, because it was chaotic. I mean, school was outside. Their school was outside. It was in the gate, and you got kids outside the gate during school periods. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be. I'm gonna have my hands full. And people were telling me not to take the job, but I'm from California, so I didn't know nothing about the landscape down there in terms of if it was good or not. So I think when I got the job, I think the first thing was identifying that, okay, there hasn't been a culture in place here for years. And I'm going to develop a culture, and let's keep it simple. And, develop some easy rules was communicate, and guard the family. Just 3 rules. 3 rules. And I stressed the importance of being early. Wrote out a 5:30 a.m. weights. And teachers, administrators like, hey, coach, that's a little ambitious. I said, maybe I'm just going to be the only one there then until it starts to, develop. Now we got about 40 kids in there in the mornings, right? Lifting weights at 5 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, ready to go, and then go to school, right? And so the transition period was great. And then, obviously there's little things, right, little tweaks when they come in the weight room. Hey, I don't care what your favorite school is. I don't care if you like the new shorts that your mom got you for Christmas or your birthday. We wear Highline gear in here. We wear our high school gear in here, period. No exceptions. And so just having a standard, holding guys accountable, some kids don't like that, right? And so, finding out, okay, what can we do here? Are we going to budge? It's going to be some give and take, right? We're working with 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. So that standard was, I was hard on that standard. But as I started to kind of evolve year after year after year, I started to understand, okay, I'm going to keep my standard, but I'm also going to meet these teenagers where they're at and understand how to tap into them. So, how did I do that? I hired a photographer. I hired a videographer, right?
Yeah, I saw, listen, the Instagram page is going.
Yeah.
I was literally going to say that, dude. I mean, it looks like a program.
I make it all about them.
Yeah.
Everything we do is about them. I tell everybody, I say, I don't work for this district. I work for the kids, and they know it, right? So every morning I stock up, go to Costco, I stock up our fridge, muscle milks, bagels, bars, string cheese, you name it. They have it because that's what this is what you get being a part of this program, and it's that serious to me. So, again, doing the little things, right, and showing up, being consistent. They see me every day. There's not one thing that our program does that I'm not at. From if they have a graduation party, I'm there. If my quarterback, my very first quarterback that I got when I first got there, he got married, I'm there. I'm at brothers' parties. If I get invited, I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm there. So again, and when you build that relationship, and then I'm coaching them tough and I'm holding them to a standard, I'm like, well, Coach Coop cares.
Yeah.
And so it's been a day by day, being consistent, showing up every day. And I don't work in the building, and I'm there every day. On lunch break, take a little 10-minute, 15-minute drive to the campus, make sure I see everybody, make sure I see my guys, and then back to work, right? And so that's been a priority for me, and that's worked for me. And I've had a successful staff that I've been fortunate enough to keep together, and they're guys I trust, right?
Yeah.
I'd be lying to you guys if I said that I've been doing this all by myself. You know, as much as I hold that standard in place, those guys support me in it. Yeah. Those guys come to work every day and pour into me, pour into the kids. Couldn't do it without them. Yeah. And obviously got to thank, the people who took a chance on me to even give me that job.
Yeah.
And my athletic directors and my district AD. But
I mean, talk about that too.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're up in Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of coaches that look like you.
Nope.
That maybe have, a lot of these coaches have had prior coaching experience. Yep. You did not.
Nope.
What was that process like?
Let me tell you the process. I got told no 3 times before I got told my first yes, all within a window of 3 months. School said you're too young. Another school said you don't have the experience. Mm-hmm. Another school said, you gotta quit your job and move in. You gotta come be in the building. It's like, I can't do that. This school was like, hey, here you go. Let's do it. And so I look back at it, right, and I'm fortunate and I'm thankful. I think there's nothing like your first.
Yeah.
And so I get everything I got every day, and I give those kids everything I got every day. Those are my guys. Yeah. Those are my guys. So
yeah. It's obvious that you care, man. What I like about building a culture is you have to kind of you got to make sure everybody falls in line, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got to be bought in. There can't be egos.
Nope.
It's I like what you're saying about everyone's got to wear the same stuff in the weight room. Yep. A lot of that is stripping away identity, maybe individualism, but at the same time, especially as a coach, as a leader, you also got to be able to relate to somebody on an individual level.
Yes.
So it's such a dynamic of like, look, we're all the same, but I also still got to build those personal relationships with you.
Yes. I joke with them all the time, man. And here's the thing too, right? Like, I think, just as much as I'm stern with them, like I create a safe space so that they can joke with me. Mm-hmm. And, they in a group chat, they screenshot pictures of me and say, man, do y'all see Coach Cooper in this photo? And so like we like, I give them that space because I rag on them too. Yeah. So like, there's still that level of like, oh, hey, Coach Coop's serious.
Yeah.
But then there's also that level of like, man, Coach Coop is Coach Coop.
Right.
I'm young, so I gotta use that as my strength.
Right.
I can relate with you guys.
Right.
So that's gotta be something that I tap into.
Yeah. We talked about this too, recruiting. So you came out, what year did you come out?
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
I mean, again, highly recruited.
Mm-hmm.
The recruiting landscape has changed.
Yes.
It's night and day. And I know you're out here taking visits to all these Power 5 schools. You're at SC. You're at all these places. What are you kind of telling these guys now as they're coming out? It's not an easy time to come out as a high school senior.
No,
you're competing with the transfer portal. You're competing with guys that had COVID years.
Yeah.
What is that kind of process now look like as you're on the other side of that, helping guys through it?
Right. For me, it's simple, man. I take my guys to the schools and I tell them, man, go where you want it, not where you want to go. Mm-hmm. So when you do end up tearing 3 ACLs, you get that same treatment you got on your recruiting trip that Sark gave me, right? And so anybody can throw you an offer and say, oh, man, we want you to come to our school. Only few can back that. Only few can, like, back it up and walk the walk, right? So I got a guy now we call him D1 Quan. He's got everybody.
Yeah. What position?
Safety/receivers and athlete.
Yeah.
But I tell him, man, go where you want it. School that wants you is going to show you they want you. And it's that simple.
What does that look like?
It looks like communication, right? It looks like making you a priority. It looks like, telling you how you're going to be involved in this system. Just making sure that you're overly communicating with the guy. Making sure, like, hey, I've developed not only a relationship with you, but your parents. Because essentially you're going to be with me for the next 4 years, right? So I want your mom to feel safe and secure, and if you're going to be a million miles away from home, or you can be right around the corner, that she knows the man I am. She knows the integrity that I have, or the character that I'm going to be trying to instill into your child. So those are the things I try and stay out of it. A lot of guys be like, "Oh, you're gonna push him to UW." I don't push none of my guys nowhere, man. I just try and give them the information and just tell them like, "Hey, make sure you go where you want it, not where you want to go." Because we got a lot of guys that I play with that are coaches
across the country,
right? And so, my roommate is a guy who's in a Power 5 school, and so I don't push guys. I just give them the information so that they can make a decision for themselves. Because I'm not going.
Yeah.
So last thing I want to do is play, hey, man, I like this school, and that's not what you like.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but I think your experience in going through that process, going on a lot of visits, you can kind of pour into guys and be like, hey, this is what you should look for. This is maybe something that, hey, this is kind of a red flag here, right?
Yep.
So talk to me then, like, moving forward, like legacy-wise.
Yeah.
Is coaching what you want to be doing forever? We're going to talk about some of the other ventures you got going on, but what does that look like?
Man, it's funny, man. I love coaching. And I think right now where I'm at, I think that's something I'm going to continue to do, right? Just because it makes me better in the things that I'm doing, right? Like it complements my day-to-day work, right? My 9 to 5, it complements me as a person. It complements me in relationships.
Yeah.
It just makes me better because, again, I'm learning so much from the kids as well as pouring into them, right? Yeah. So I pour into them and I learn so much. Like I'm learning patience. I'm learning how to communicate, right? Because you, as a leader, you're a chief repeating officer. Like if you think like if you can tell a 14-year-old kid, hey, this is where you got to go here on this play.
Yeah.
If you think you tell him that once and he remembers for the rest of the year, you don't have to repeat that again. You're in for a rude awakening, right? And so just getting used to like, okay, making sure I'm clear and I'm concise, I'm communicating effectively, I'm being supportive, right? I'm emotionally aware of a kid in inner city who's coming to practice and is battling something that has nothing to do with football. So like just being aware, like, dang, hey, DeAndre, you good? What's wrong, man? You want to talk this out? Or hey, Nat, what's up? Like, just having those conversations with your kids and just being aware of it. But it's made me so much better. It's made me be vulnerable, right? It's made it easier for me to express my emotions in all my relationships. And I think that's important because at the end of the day, like young men and even men today, like myself, we don't get enough practice at being vulnerable and showing our emotions. Yeah. That's not something you work on.
I think that was one of the first things when we first met that drew me to you. It was just how vulnerable you were. You know what I mean? Dude, big time dude, had every reason to have an ego.
Yeah.
Talk to me like now, like going through what you're going through now. I know that you practice a lot of like mindfulness things, recovery, but a lot of mindset stuff, right? What are some things that you're going through now that you're maybe seeing playing a role in you staying even keeled, you staying confident? Because when you're pouring into people, like there's got to be a source of something pouring back into you too.
Yeah.
It's so easy to pour yourself out, and what keeps you kind of level there?
Man, I would say it's a combination of things, man. Like I'm a big junkie on like seeing positive like quotes, videos, TikTok, right? I think I pull confidence from like my family. I think I pull confidence when I'm taking care of myself personally, whether that's a workout, whether that's reading. I think the people that I allow in my space help that too, right? Like, I don't let too much, toxic, things in my space. So I try and make sure I surround myself with positivity, genuine people.
Yeah.
Just because that's gonna feed me. That's where I'm gonna find that additional energy. But just little things like that, right? So it goes back to like those podcasts. It goes back to reading. Goes back to working out, improving myself.
What's a book that you've read that's been like game changing for you?
Man, I love it. There's a lot, but Slight Edge. Slight Edge is one that I got from Coach Chris Peterson, and just kind of talk about the daily wins, right? And I think a lot of times people get so caught up in they got to do all of this in one day versus we just got to get knock a notch off every day. Just keep taking a step up the mountain.
Yeah.
You don't have to go a mile up the mountain. Just take a step every day. And so that was big for me, man. Slight Edge. So that's one that I'd recommend for sure.
Yeah, I mean, confidence. I think that's what confidence is.
Yes.
Is proving to yourself every day that by stacking those small wins.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I think anybody that comes out and says I have big dreams, I got big visions, but you don't start stacking up those little wins. I mean, it's just words.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's lost in the wind.
Yep.
When you start actually putting substance behind that and proving to yourself that you are who you say you are. I mean, when we started this show, it's something I've been thinking about this for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm like, you know, overthinking. Gosh, you know, I want to make sure that it looks good. You know, you go through all these different things. And I'm a big James Bond fan.
Yes.
And,
Huge, bro.
007?
I don't think you understand how big.
I'm a big James Bond fan.
I don't think you
like
understand.
James Bond, like 007.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Come on, bro. So, dude, I got this whole poster in my room from his last movie, No Time to Die. And for me, No Time to Die is a phrase of like, there's no time to waste. You know what I mean? Like, what are we waiting? You know, so for me, if I resonate with that, No Time to Die, like that's a slogan that I live by, but I'm dragging my feet on starting a podcast, or I'm dragging at some point, those are conflicting things. My words and my actions are not matching. Yes. And at that point, there's got to be some kind of correction or reconciliation of either I'm not who I say I am, or I got to sack up and I got to actually start doing what I say I do.
Right.
For yourself, have you ever felt like, man, there's a little bit of contradiction going on right now, just mentally versus what actually is going on?
Oh, yes, 100%, right? Yeah. Because, again, it goes back to how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So, like, if one phase of my life is going well and another phase isn't, I'm like, man, come on, like, I got to be consistent in all phases. And so I do a lot of, I'll tell you this, I do a lot of reflection, too. I drive around, I do my best thinking just driving in my car.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm a drive, I just drive around, I just think, and just like, okay, let's vocally let's be vocally self-critical of myself, what I'm doing, my habits, and different things like that. Like, if I miss a workout, I'm hard on myself. If I don't read, I'm hard on myself, right? Like, if I sleep in too long, I'm hard on myself because I'm like, hey, what are we doing? But also, though, right, I give myself grace.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, hey, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of people should understand that it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? So, like, again, we talk about, like, just like, let's talk about a workout, right?
Yeah.
You go in the weight room and people are like, man, dang, I was only this guy was in there for 2 hours and I was only in there for 15 minutes. But what did you get done in 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Right? Let's talk about that. That's the victory, right? Let's take a victory out of that. Because there's a lot of comparison now, especially with social media.
Come on.
Right? There's a lot of comparison, and comparison's the thief of joy.
Bro, I was literally just about to say that.
I'm telling you, man.
Can't agree more.
You know what I mean? So, like, it's for me, it's just like, look, I find daily wins in the things that I'm doing when I'm like in that place of like being critical of myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
You got to find it somewhere.
Have to.
I talk about that all the time, man. It's that confidence tracker. Yes. You got to be proving to yourself on a daily basis that you are who you say you are. You're a person that does everything the same way, like excellence in everything.
Man.
You talked a little about your 9 to 5, working for a Fortune 100 company, tech sales, doing big time stuff there, and then also real estate investor now at this point.
Yeah, man.
So talk to me about that.
Just versatility, man. I think for me, I love working at Amazon Web Services because I think, you know, what Amazon embodies is exactly who I am, right? When you talk about just, you know, core covenants, something that I'm used to, right? Leadership principles. I'm sure you heard of this, right?
Yeah.
The bias for action, the insist on the highest standard, the deliver results, the earn trust, the customer obsession. The list goes on and on. But when you equate that to like what I'm used to, right? Delivering results. You have to be able to deliver results playing sports.
Yeah.
You have to be able to earn trust of your coaches to play, right? You have to be customer obsessed as a running back with your teammates. You have to be teammate obsessed, right? As a captain, you have to understand that. And then you talk about bias for action. You can't wait around for someone to tell you to go work out. You just got to naturally have that. And so that Amazon aligns so much with who I am personally. So that's a great fit, right, in terms of company.
Coming out, you know, you were in some training camps. You had your little stint.
Yep.
And then breaking into tech. You know, there's a lot of boundaries. There's a lot of barriers that you got to get through.
Yeah.
What was that process like for you?
Man, that was a 6-hour interview process. Man, I had 6 interviews. I had that was, crazy. But again, man, it was all centered around those leadership principles. And so I was so dialed in. Like, I already prepared for the interview, right? Studied up on Amazon, studied up on tech sales, just understood like some common objections that you may face in the interview process. I said, okay, knowing that and knowing that these leadership principles are who I am.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? And so again, man, and obviously now being there for, multiple years, you start to say to yourself, oh man, like, I remember my first day, like when all that was like German to me, and now like just trying to consistently get better and learn and get better and get better. But that helped get rid of some of those insecurities. But man, at first I was petrified because I'm like, man,
what did you do? Like, how did you get over that?
Man, I asked a lot of questions, and mind you, and it came, and I was like got on board and hired virtually. So it was harder to tap on somebody's shoulder. Like I'm talking about, I had to email, ping somebody in internal chats. But man, I was around a lot of other people that were supportive, and luckily there were people in the building that I knew that were helpful. But no, man, I was definitely every day. I'm like, and it's a sales, right? So you got to hit a quota.
Right.
And it's foreign to me. I've never done that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dang, like where do I get started?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it was a lot of scary times, but keep chopping wood.
Right. And in tech sales too, I mean, a lot of the responsibilities on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you get fed leads, right?
Yeah.
If you're like, probably a lot of other people, sometimes inbound leads are they're not always the best.
Yeah.
You got to start hunting for your own deals.
Yeah.
And at that level too, there's grace that I'm sure they give you. It's kind of like playing football. I'm sure. They hey, this guy's a rookie. We're gonna give him some reps. We're gonna let him mess up a little bit.
Yep.
But at some point, you got to start figuring this out, or at least for a lot of people, it starts to get a little short.
Yes.
Was that something that you experienced?
I've never experienced at least getting short because, it didn't take me long, right? The competitor in me was, I'm not good at this. I know I'm not good at this. I know that, I'm behind the 8 ball because this isn't a field or arena that I'm familiar with. So I got to put in extra work. Takes me back to like, the work ethic in football, right? Like, hey, you may have to do an extra training.
Yeah.
threes and CDN and networking.
Staying up late, reading the playbook,
right?
Watching film.
Right. You may have to do that. You may have to set a meeting, and when you jump off work, when you clock out, to understand the process. You may have to schedule an additional meeting. So, just again, and I tell everybody this that plays sports, when you know how to channel the work ethic and the energy that you put into your sport, if you can channel that and take that with you to whatever endeavor you have next, game over.
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah.
So,
you talk a lot about work ethic and figuring out, what you don't know, right? Because a lot of it's what you don't know. But when you're a salesman, a big portion of that, 90% of it's just in your own head.
Yes.
And like being fearless enough to just ask questions and be comfortable with rejection.
Yes.
And I think that is something that a lot of people, that's what makes a lot of people fail at sales, or even fail in like a lot of things that they do in life. You're going to hear no a lot. And you got to be okay with that.
A lot.
Yeah.
Because every time someone says no, you're just closer to a yes, right?
Yep. Someone told me a long time ago, man, you got to sift through some of the bad apples to get to the ripe ones. And I've gotten hung up on.
Yeah.
Several times.
Been there before.
You know what, too? The crazy part about that is, as a competitor, someone hangs up on, I'm calling you back 10 times till you pick that phone up. Listen, we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah. Not only that, like, hey, okay, he hung up. How can I be creative?
Yes.
And my email messaging.
Yeah.
I want to hook you. Like, how can I do it? Well, I'm going to call you and you tell me, hey, I'm not interested.
Right.
And then even then, I'm like, hey, well, why aren't you interested?
Interested in what?
Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah.
So just kind of look again, and a lot of people get discouraged and like, dang, they hung up on me. All right, I'm not calling back.
Yeah.
No. Hang up on me 8 times. Got you on the call list 8 times. So if you hang up on me 8 times, then I got to position you.
Yeah.
And then drop you as an MQL or whatever. But No, you just got to stay gritty.
Yeah. We listen. We picking up ghost numbers. I'm gonna call you from a different number.
You doing the star 67?
Yeah, come on, man.
Double dialing,
yeah,
bro.
I'm on my Google phone.
That's funny.
You gotta. It is a balance too, though, because like there's some times where you have to be the one that disqualifies a lead.
Yes.
You have to be the one that says, this isn't a good fit. Even if like, man, I could try to push this and maybe try to make something happen. It's a balance.
Right.
And I think a lot of it comes down to that confidence in yourself to say, hey, you know what? There's an abundance of people out there that are a fit for what I do.
Yes.
I don't need to try to force anything here.
Nope. Yeah. There are situations where like, man, like, this is kind of just being able to read the room. Like there are situations where like, sometimes, man, you need to hang up the phone and move on.
Right.
But like, there are times where like, man, if someone's not direct and they're not telling you that, don't assume.
Yeah.
Don't assume anything, right? And until they tell you, like, thanks for the call, I'm good, don't call me back.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're direct like that? Okay, I'm not
Don't ever be the first one to hang up.
Yeah.
Let them push you off the phone. Again, unless there's things that you're like, hey, it's just not gonna be a fit.
And a lot of times when people get on calls, they rush the call.
Yeah.
Take your time. Rush,
Yeah.
don't even sometimes there's the people that come up there and they push the tempo. They like, yeah, who's this? What do you want? And you gotta slow it down.
Yeah.
Let the silence do its work. You know what I mean?
Slow down.
I was gonna ask, me and Mike probably talk at least every day, if not a couple times a day.
Yeah.
And we'll riff back and forth about, the calls we had and kind of what happened. And, it's nice to have and we're in two completely different industries.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have a conversation about like, what else going on. Do you have somebody like that where you can call up and be like, and strictly just like, hey, this is what I said. What would you have said differently? Or
yes.
How does this email sound if I'm going to send this? Is that too direct? Am I not direct enough?
Yes, man.
Is there someone in your life that does that?
I got two people, man. My brother, my twin, right? He's more of a guy I go to when I have like outside related stuff, more business. Like one of my closest friends that I went to school with at UW, her name is Sonia. Anything that's business related, boy, like, hey, what do you think of this email? Am I wrong by sending this?
Yeah.
Like she knows all of like my business stuff because it's like she's polished when it comes to that, right?
Yeah.
And where I feel like where some people feel like I'm polished, there's some insecurities like, dang, I may not be as polished as I think I am. But I know someone who is.
Yeah.
And so then I send it over, I'm like, what do you think? And then, no, you don't want to say it like that. Say it like this.
Yeah.
Or no, you don't say it like this. And so you always got to have people like that in your hip pocket. And so she's been one that's for sure that's been helpful in that sense. And then my brother, he's another one, and he'll call me out like, nah, bro, you in the wrong.
Yeah.
Like, or yeah, that wasn't it. So, but yeah. And so those are two that come to mind right away.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's somebody else if I think hard on
For sure.
it. Yeah.
Well, bro, I mean, you got a lot on your plate. You're a full-time head coach.
Yeah.
You're going on all these recruiting trips with your dudes.
Yeah.
You're working 9 to 5. You're dealing with some pretty big accounts. You're doing all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then you throw real estate into the mix.
Yep.
What's that journey been like for you?
Man, it's been a learning process. I feel like I took a leap in just getting in 2019 and just getting started, and now it's continued now to blossom, and it's gonna start to blossom in a way where I will no longer spend my own money on properties. And that's kind of like that's the game you want to be in, and get to a place where like, man, I can sit back and just live my life freely, because I know that I'm taking care of a lot of different ventures, and I'm touching different people, right?
Yeah.
Like I got a real estate network, I got a coaching network, I got a tech sales network, right? And so, just collaborating with a lot of different people, man, and just kind of opens the horizon and makes you a more valuable person.
Yeah.
So,
do you have a goal of like, hey, I want to have this amount of rental properties. I've done the math. This is going to bring me that amount of like passive income.
So every year I want to buy a new one.
Okay.
So every year until 2040, I want to hit every tropical state.
Man,
and so
that's 16 years out, or 17 years out.
And obviously those are goals, right?
Yeah.
Every year I want to hit at this point now, because now I won't be using my own money. Every year I want to hit a new place, a new state.
So when you're saying you're not using your own money, are you like you're leveraging equity, you're pulling stuff out?
Leveraging equity, pulling stuff out, and just, again, letting your money work for you. And I think a lot of times we get caught up in and it's you buy a property and you sit on it, and you let's say you don't make any improvements. Naturally, that house is gonna uptick in value, especially the housing market. It can sometimes decline, it can sometimes uptick. And when that value rises, okay, cool, it rose $50K. Let's take it out.
Yeah.
Where do we want to go now?
Yeah.
Like where can we get a bang for our buck? What's a good location? And so that's where I'm at now, like just evaluating, because I know next year this time it's gonna be time to do it again. Right. And then the next year that time it's gonna be time to do it again.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of people, man, you and I know, play ball, had similar experiences to you, but like building an empire now with real estate. Who put you on game like that, or is that something that you found out on your own? Where did that come from?
Man, to be honest, it came from those nighttime Monopoly games, and just something that was taken as a game between my dad and my brothers and my mom and my stepmom, was something that was so educational, right? Like just being able to develop property and just kind of live freely and do it that way. And then, just, again, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but I also don't want to work, my entire life for somebody. So
you have a date or an age circle where you're like, bro, I don't want to have a 9 to 5 at this point.
I do, but I don't, because I would say, like, let's say I say 40, and that was probably something I said a long time ago, right? But I think about it to myself, like, if I'm healthy and I'm fit,
why not?
Why not, man?
Yeah.
Why not? Just more generational wealth. Let's keep going. So even if Bill's is covered with 5 to 10 properties, what are we stopping for?
Yeah.
If you're still able, let's keep going. Maybe find something at lower capacity, but don't stop. And then also it goes back to, like, being able to do all those things. One thing that's really important is you got to be able to ruthlessly prioritize. You got to be able to ruthlessly prioritize, man. And if you're not able to do that, you can get lost. You can get scrambled, and you lose yourself in all the different responsibilities that you have.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so important to be clear on the vision, because when things start coming up that are distracting from that, then you can start weeding that stuff out.
Yes. And that helps you, and again, with all these different things going on, it helps you weed out people. Right? Like, it helps you weed out, like...
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's people that you and I both know from college or playing ball that, hey, man, I love you.
Yeah.
But we don't align anymore.
Right.
Have you ever had those conversations?
I haven't had those conversations directly, but I think I'm not a confrontational person. Let's just say that, right? Like, I'm more of a guy of, like, I'll just fade. Like, I'll just and you'll see the wind, and you be like, damn, where'd the coop go? Gone.
Yeah.
Like, so that's kind of me. So, like, I think a lot of times, like, if we don't align, it's nothing personal.
Right. Never is. Yeah.
It's just, hey, man, we hung out, and I wasted 2 hours of my time, and, like, I didn't feel like I got anything out of it, and that's okay, but I ain't doing it again.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, like, unless I'm playing a video game and we just chopping it up, and, like, I've already carved out that time to just hang out.
Right.
That's different.
Because you need that too.
Yeah. Like, let's not forget, like, me time and, like, all of this, right? So, yeah.
Coop, what's your why, bro? Like, let's get to the place where money's no longer an issue. What are you gonna be doing with your time, and why is that so important to you?
Man, my why, I'm gonna be impacting for the rest of my life, bro. I'm gonna be impacting for the rest of my life. And not only that, though, like, I think my why is I just want to be great, bro. I just want to be great. Everything I do, everything I touch, I want to be great at it. Like, I mean, I'm just motivated to be me at an elite level. Like, I'm just motivated to be me at an elite level. That's my why. Yeah. Like, I want to be the best. If I touch it, I want to be best.
Where does that come from?
It comes from, like, a childhood of a lot of doubt, a lot of, like, you can't do that. Yeah. You can't do this. You're this, you're that. No. I'm gonna recreate. I'm gonna reestablish. I'm gonna change the narrative. I'm gonna change the story. I'm gonna be the guy that changes it all. So, and sports is an accelerator to like putting you on the big stage, but there's other ways to put you on the stage and like really put you at the front in a slow cooking version, right? Right now we slow cooking, but there's gonna be a time where it's like, he's the real deal.
Yeah.
But he's an elite at everything he does. He's not just elite at coaching. He's an elite tech sales guy. He's an elite in real estate. He's an elite husband. He's an elite father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's an elite man. He's an elite just person. Dang, he's 167 and he looks like that? Yeah, he's elite.
Bro, you look the same. I mean, like, we haven't seen each other in
bro.
6 years, but you look the same, man.
Man, it's water.
What's the skincare routine, bro?
Hey, Peloton.
Yeah.
Hey, I got an esthetician for you.
All right.
Skin I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, Coop, this has been a phenomenal episode, bro. I'm so glad that we got to reconnect and hear a little bit more about your story.
Yes.
For those of you that are listening, this has been The Confidence Quotient. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, TikTok, the whole deal. If you want to hear more content like this. Coop, thanks for being on today.
Oh, man, thanks for having me.
Coop, where can people follow you, man?
Come on, man. Hey, IG, Deontae,
Yep.
D_E_N_E_N_T_A_A_E. I don't know who did that.
You did, bro. You did, dog.
Deontae, find me there, man.
Yeah.
And also, man, Coop Collective. Man,
Yeah, starting your own pod.
Starting our own pod, man. Riding with Coop, man. So, Coop Collective, IG, and then Twitter, Coach D Coop.
Yeah.
And then, Facebook, just regular deal.
Yeah.
Deontae Cooper.
Yep.
Easy to find, man. And subscribe to the channel, too. Coop Collective. So,
Man,
yeah,
pleasure
man.
to have you on, bro.
Yeah, man.
Pleasure to have you.
Man, Zane, Mike, appreciate y'all boys,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Appreciate y'all
Dude,
boys.
thanks for coming on the pod.
We'll have you again soon, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.